So we're going to talk about Doja Cat, but first, let me tell you how I was, um, you know, reading some things about her. Recently, I know how she told her fans, like, don't call yourself kittens. And she was like, just telling them no, like, she does not like that. What I found interesting was the minute I was like reflecting on Doja Cat and a lot of things I heard about her, and I'm like, oh, Doja Cat doesn't always like attention. And I know people may look at Doja Cat and like, oh, she shaved her eyebrows, she shaved her head, or she does these things that are kind of weird. And I was like, it's either Aquarius influence or does she have 12th house energy? The 12th house energy more so because I was like, does she have a 12th house? Like, this is me not, I've never looked at her chart until today. And apparently this is from memory. So it has an A rating. An A reading is if someone says, hey, from memory, my parent told me this is when I was born. And AA would be an actual birth record that someone has seen. So I found that really interesting that when I pulled up her chart, like, she has 12 house placements. I knew it. Because even though she's famous, sometimes she doesn't like the attention. And she's like, leave me alone, right? Just leave me alone. I need you to, I'm just doing this for the music, right? And that's a really big part of her. And I think even looking at her 12th house energy, it's like wanting to be authentically heard is a part of the 12th house. It's like this, sometimes with 12th house, it's this very like lost type of feeling of like searching for what means something, searching for what matters. And she has this kind of like ability to connect to people, or this desire to want to connect to people, but it's really like even her fans, I bet you she's the type of person that's like, I want a specific type of fan now. She also has a Virgo moon, and we'll talk about all that in a moment. I'm not doing a chart reading. This is not my chart readings for clients are like 2 hours or 2.5 hours long. This is simply just us looking at her placements. So I wanted to do a snapshot, and I'm actually just going to go to the main stuff. Okay. So when we look here, what I find interesting is her aesthetic is a part of her. I know that Doja Cat, like in the beginning, like people were like, she was, seen and known like for having like kind of like a shapely figure. And I know she lost like a lot of weight, especially as she became more famous. She was not overweight at all, but she has like kind of, I would say, toned down, right? She's toned herself. There's a very Venus nature to that. Venus and Scorpio, having but also the Venus and Scorpio ability to transform and change what they feel is like their sense of beauty, or even like these kind of beauty standards. What I find very interesting is that lately a lot of her statements and even her appearance has been kind of like anti beauty standards. Like it's like I'm gonna look the way that I want to look, and I think there's certain parts of that. We have to understand that Doja Cat is going through her Saturn return. Her Saturn return is in her fifth house. She is going to be someone who is really, really experimenting with her look. She's going to be experimenting. She is going to be doing different things. Do not be surprised. But I think in the end of it, I think once her Saturn return finishes, you're probably going to see her start to transition a little bit back more to just like kind of normal look. She's also going to be going through, because her Saturn return is in Pisces, it's already in retrograde. Issues of confidence, image, self-image can also come into the fray because Venus is trining Saturn, right? And in water signs. And so Venus here at the first house is like her having these kind of experiences and this desire to like really showcase herself for what she thinks she is, but also at the same time, Saturn representing this kind of exploration of like her own confidence and kind of pushing herself to the limit. Sacrifice is a key word of Saturn and Pisces. Kind of being willing to kind of sacrifice this kind of image that usually we see with like celebrities, in order to say like, I'm going to be me. I'm going to do what I want to do, right? Her, even when I thought of her third house before I saw it, I'm like, Uranus, because she'll say some kind of strange stuff and she doesn't care. Like she's just, one, I do think she is, she knows how to, write songs. She is creative as an artist. And I know she wants to be taken seriously as an artist, right? She puts a lot of effort into that. That is definitely like Moon in Virgo. Moon in Virgo in 11th house. I would definitely say for her, she's she's critical. She's self-critical of herself and probably even in comparison to others in the industry. Remember, the 11th house of society, this community, it is groups. Right. So in terms of being in the music industry, she really cares. 24th degree. She wants to evolve in terms of her music. She does really view it as a creative outlet of who she is and her self-expression. So she likely can sometimes be kind of self-critical, but also we look here, her moon is creating a trine to Uranus and Capricorn. So that kind of unique energy, her channeling certain things, the ability to be unique but also specific and detail oriented is very interesting. But we see that with the Virgo moon. The Virgo moon kind of like wants to get things done just right. So for her, like everything she's doing is very intentional and she's trying to do it to her liking. But with Uranus and Neptune in the third house, I'm not surprised she has Uranus in the third house because again, I said like, is there when I see some of her tweets and how she speaks and things like that, I'm like, where is there a Uranus, Aquarius influence? So there's not really an Aquarius influence in her chart, but Uranus is in the third house of communication. And so we do see that she kind of can be very random, spontaneous, right? But also we have to understand like these planets are in Capricorn in her third house. So like there's an end goal. Like, yes, you might think, oh, she's being weird or she's saying something weird, but like there's an end goal for Doja Cat, like when she does or says something. Um, Jupiter being in her second house means she has the capacity to really have a pretty good financial, like be really good financially. Mars is conjunct Jupiter. She benefits sometimes from being a little impulsive in terms of money. She's likely probably already taken some risks and probably been fine. We also say that because zero is Mars in 0 degree has to learn. It has to learn how to apply that spontaneous, impulsive energy to something that is going to be directed into something fruitful. Mars being the second house. Even with Jupiter in the second house, Jupiter being in the home sign of Sagittarius, but 13 degree is very, can be an impulsive degree. So don't be surprised if she might be someone who does buy something randomly or purchase something or does something interesting, unexpected with her money. Don't be surprised if she does that one day, right? Pluto is in Scorpio, which I do think, even the fact that Scorpio rules over her second house of money and she has Pluto and Mars, the planets that rule Scorpio there, I think that's beneficial to her. I think that's very beneficial. I think, and like, she's very blunt. She's very direct. I know some of her fans might be feeling a certain way right now because she was just like, don't, what did she say? She said, don't call yourself kittens. Let me say. Because you know how, like, people that have fans, they often, she slams and admirers who call them kittens. She's basically saying, oh, let me say. She doesn't like the name kittens. She says, let's see what she says. She says, my fans don't call themselves S. If you call yourself a kitten or F kittens, that means you need to get off your phone and get a job and help your parents with the house. She doesn't like that. Okay, she is direct. Again, even though the sun trining Uranus, like she's not afraid to be herself. And like sometimes the sun in 12th house people, the ones that are bold, they're not afraid to like isolate themselves. So with her, it's like this kind of boldness, this audacity of just like, I'm not afraid. Also, her Mercury's at the 9th degree. The 9th degree is the Sagittarius degree in the degree system I use. I have a video about that on the channel. What does that mean? Well, that could definitely mean she's gonna, yes, Mercury and Libra, she seeks to connect to people sometimes. But she's very selective. One is the Virgo moon. Just because you know her music, do not think you know her. Don't think you know her. And the 9th degree, it gives a little bit more of that direct bluntness sometimes. And also, if we look here, her Mercury is sextile. Gotta pause because sometimes I misspeak about aspects because I'm moving so fast. Her Mercury is sextiling Jupiter. Jupiter is in rulership. Jupiter is expansive, it spreads. Jupiter's in Sagittarius. She's going to say what is in line with her own values. What she says is what she means. She really means that. Sound mean, but like she's like, this is just what I'm just saying what I mean. If she thinks something's dumb, if she thinks something is, she's going to say that and not really have any type of, thoughts about it. Venus is her chart ruler as a Libra rising. And so because Venus is her chart ruler and Venus is in the first house, um, self actualization in relation to other people is going to be something that's thematic. The 14th, okay. So at some point, you know, I think she, stabilizing herself doesn't mean changing who she is, but she is going through a time right now where you have to remember, like, her transition into like being a pop star was very fast. She's been doing music for a while. A lot of people have. Like when you first hear somebody, there's a whole story behind them. And I think that things moved so fast for her, it was difficult. And she felt like, the privacy that she had more so when she was not as popular, how she felt like she wasn't constantly having to respond to people, right? That is hard for a sun in the 12th house person. Mercury in the 12th house. She likes to be alone with her thoughts sometimes. And even with the Libra, it's like she likes communicating with certain types of people. So you understand about people who, master that 12th house, or people who are on the mission of mastering the 12th house. The isolation isn't just I'm isolating to be away from everybody. It's with Libra, it's more so about the selectivity. This like, I need people who I feel like I can trust. She wants to let loose. She wants to have people that she feels she can count on. But again, that's going to be difficult sometimes when it comes to being in the mainstream, being in the public eye. It is what it is with that. But I also would say what I like about it is, again, her chart, she has a lot of energy that shows that she is very expressive. She's very creative. I can't go through all of the aspects right now. But I do think that this helps us understand why Doja Cat is so, um, you know, but the thing about her is like, people are still gonna like her. Like, yeah, she, she went off on her fans, but like Libra risings and like people with Venus in the first house, like people are still gonna like her. There's gonna be people who are like, wow, she's so authentic for saying that. Wow, I was thinking the same thing. She's not one to really apologize. I think if she genuinely feels she hurt someone's feelings, she will apologize. Like if she's kind of likely that type of person. Um, you know but I do think like she says what's on her mind, and she's definitely going through a period of time right now where like Moon and Virgo, whatever she kind of like, and sometimes it can be a self-critique, like being careful with um like if she's facing any discomfort with herself or dissatisfaction, you can sometimes see like that kind of, Saturn can be kind of um heartless, right? Cold. And so with that moon making that opposition to Saturn, especially this in retrograde, she's going through a Saturn return. I think she's kind of just over society in general. Right? Like Moon in Virgo is very perceptive. She's very perceptive on trends. She's very perceptive of social trends. But I also think that like, she might be feeling a certain way right now. She's feeling kind of like kind of annoyed, annoyed by some of the things that she's seeing, probably even in the music industry. And anything that she thinks takes away from her originality, she does not like. Probably she doesn't like it. So I think like because other artists call themselves, like I think Nicki's fans call themselves the Barbs. I'm not sure what some of these other fans call themselves, but for her, it's just kind of like she's looking at it like, you know what, that's not unique, that's not me. Very much a person who's like, that's not me. And with the Saturn being in her fifth house, it's all about her owning her confidence and owning and kind of navigating the things that she wishes to be and aspires to be, and that's coming through there, right? So that's just something to keep in mind here. Again, this is not a full chart reading, but I did want to just share like these are some things that make Doja Cat unique. This is some of the things that make her, sometimes different from some other artists.